You have a new idea for a shoe, maybe because you need it, or maybe from people around you, you feel that they need something like that. If you're a new founder or you're considering thinking about starting your own footwear brand, maybe I'm able to share some insights with you. And please like and subscribe and leave a comment below if there's anything you specifically want to ask or want to know more about. So, how should you start? How do you create your own footwear brand in 2026? Now, I think a lot of people start focusing first on the product. But what I want to tell you is first, you want to focus on the target audience. Now, the target audience is basically the set of people who will be the end users of your product, who's going to buy, your shoe. Basically, the people that are willing to pay money for the value they see in your product. What is the solution you're trying to solve? Because we need to think about it in solutions. People pay money for solutions and not for the products themselves. For example, people don't buy umbrellas because they need an umbrella. People buy umbrellas because it's raining. So, what is the specific solution you're trying to solve with your product? So, you will need to think through this, and based on that, figure out who are the people that are willing to pay money to buy your product. And you also have to figure out how many of these people are there. Is it so small of a group that basically it may not be a sustainable business? Or you might have enough people that it could become an interesting business. Because I've seen many footwear founders or people to have an idea to create some specific type of footwear get caught up in thinking too much about the product, but underestimating the value of the target audience and first understanding that is there such an audience there? And if so, what is the specific solution you're trying to solve for them and how much they might pay for something like that? Now, if it's a product that might already have existing customers, such as a running shoe, then is there a particular subset of this audience that you're trying to solve a different problem for? And you might be able to do some competitor analysis, looking at them to figure out, the prices, the target segment. But if you're a totally new type of shoe, then that gets a bit more tricky, and you may need to go out and talk to some of these people who you feel will be your target audience and figure out any feedback, what are the problems they're having, and how your product solves that kind of problem. Going back to that, people don't buy shoes, they buy a solution. So for example, people who stand in the hospital all day, they might buy Crocs because it's comfortable, you're walking around, it's easy to take on and off, and it's easy to wash, and it's easy to clean. So you want to first understand what kind of environment your customer is in and why would they want a product that you're providing and what is the solution you're providing to them. And speaking of target audience, one good way to do your competitor research is perhaps to look at forums like Reddit. If there are groups of these people in the community, then you want to look at and maybe read their posts, figure out, what are they talking about, what are the issues they're talking about, and see if your product is able to solve those issues, or is there any tweaks to the product that you can make to solve those issues. And this might be your marketing group or your focus group where you might need to reach out later and ask them more questions if they're willing to cooperate with you. And it's especially useful to look, if you have competitors, what are the actual clients saying about your competitors? Maybe there are issues that they haven't addressed, and you can go in and address those issues and kind of differentiate from your competitors. So it's a interesting way and a low cost way to go about doing some initial marketing research, looking at these forums, online groups, just talking to the communities which your target audience is already in. One other thing that a lot of first time founders think about is they have a big idea, and maybe like, I'm going to make running shoes and compete with Nike. And now, while that in itself might be your goal, your end goal, very ambitious goal, but to start off, that is normally not a very practical goal. So you would want to look for what we call a niche audience. So, a audience that is small enough that perhaps there are still issues or problems that they face that they're not catered to, but at the same time large enough so that it makes a sustainable business. Because it will be very difficult to sell even, for example, $200 running shoes if there's only 100 people that are willing to buy them. It's not a sustainable business. So those are the things that you also need to think about, and do the research, dig deep into figuring out what who are these people, in perhaps various subset of groups that have issues, have problems that aren't being solved yet, or maybe the solutions out there are not as good, and you can make it a lot better for them that they're willing to pay for your solution, your product. And lastly, this is important because once you know the target audience and you have done the research, it's actually a lot easier to think about the product because it gives you the benchmark, and to figure out, okay, this is something that my customer would want. This is not something that my customer would want. And because a lot of people, when they start with the product, they get very caught up in it and trying to perfect it. But we have to keep in mind, who are you perfecting it for? And are there various adjustments that are actually may not be worth your time, because the end customer actually may not care that much about one specific detail, and you might as well, focus your energy on different things and shipping the product, getting the product out to the consumer. And because with all this info, you also will look a lot more prepared when you talk to the factories and your manufacturing partners. Whether it be you have done the market research and you can let them know, what kind of things that the customer want, why do you want it designed this way, what kind of material, you have probably a better idea. And even better, if you're able to already get maybe you have a wait list and people are already signed up, you have customers maybe already pre-ordering, giving you money, basically throwing money at your solution, then you have a lot more leverage when you talk to the factories because you understand, for example, how many pairs you might want, and against the factory's MOQ. Does it work for you? Does it not work for you? There's a lot of different things that you'll be much more prepared for when you know your target audience and you've done that research. So I'm thinking about making, a series out of this where we talk about the different aspects of starting your own brand, not just from the production side, which, of course, we have a lot of experience in, but also because we run our own brands, we also sell, retail our own brands. So we have experience in, what I discussed, and hopefully sharing it will help you think about your brand or going about how to plan your brand. And not specific to footwear, even though that is our expertise, but when maybe you're doing other things like clothes, or other things like that, I believe that it also, is similar. The thought process will be similar. So please like and subscribe. And if you have anything that you want to know more about or have questions, please drop a comment below. Thank you and see you next time.